let's talk about what really separates the great product managers from, well, everyone else. What's their secret sauce? So, have you ever looked at a really successful PM and just wondered, how do they do it? Is it that they have these brilliant lightning-in-a-bottle ideas, or are they just superhumanly fast? Well, here's the thing. It's usually neither. The real difference, and this might surprise you, isn't what they think, it's how they think. It all comes down to structure. Which brings us to our first big idea. The best of the best, they don't just wing it. They operate with frameworks. Everything they do is built on this solid foundation of structured, methodical thinking. You know what the biggest mistake I see? It's not a lack of good ideas. Most PMs are full of them. The real killer is unstructured thinking. Just, jumping from one shiny object to the next without any clear path. That's a surefire way to end up with a ton of analysis that goes nowhere and to miss the insights that actually matter. And if you think that's just a small thing, check this out. 90%. That's the number. 90% of rejections in PM case interviews come from these exact kinds of unstructured thinking mistakes. The stakes are just crazy high. It makes having a system, a real framework, totally non-negotiable. Okay, so what does the system actually look like in practice? It all starts with a hypothesis-driven approach. Think about it. Instead of just diving into a sea of data and hoping you find an island of insight, you start with an educated guess, a testable assumption. That hypothesis, that's your North Star. It guides every question, every analysis you do from that point on. And this approach is how you turn that initial guess into a powerful, data-backed insight. We can actually break this down into a super clear 4-step process for tackling pretty much any problem you'll face. Okay, so here's the path. Step 1, you form that hypothesis, your best educated guess. Step 2, you build what's called an issue tree. This is just a way to break the big problem down into smaller, manageable chunks that don't overlap. Then, step 3, you get to work. You drill down with data to see if you can prove or disprove each of those branches. And finally, you synthesize it all. You bring it together into a clear recommendation that you can actually act on. It's this beautiful, logical flow from a big question to a solid answer. All right, so once you've mastered that structured thinking, you're ready for the next level. This is where we go from solving a single problem to building a system for continuous learning. And I'm not talking about sending out a survey once a quarter. I'm talking about building a real, humming, always-on feedback engine. And any great feedback engine really has two parts, two sides of the same coin. First, you've got your quantitative data. This is the what. It's the numbers, the metrics, the stuff from A/B tests and analytics. It gives you the hard proof, but that's only half the story. You also need the qualitative feedback. This is the why. This is what you get from actually talking to your users, watching them use your product. It gives you the context behind the numbers. A truly great PM needs to be fluent in both of these languages. And here are some of the tools of the trade you'll be using. To get to that why, you're looking at things like usability testing, customer surveys, even just checking social media feedback. For the what, you're digging into Google Analytics, internal logs, and of course, A/B testing. The real magic happens when you combine them. That's how you get that full 360-degree view of what your users are actually experiencing. Okay, now we're getting into the really advanced stuff. This is where PM work goes from tactical to truly strategic. We're talking about using data not just to find an insight, but to build a self-reinforcing system, a data flywheel. This is a loop that makes your product inherently better and harder to compete with every single time someone uses it. Think about LinkedIn, for example. It's a classic viral loop. You sign up, and what's the first thing it asks you to do? Invite your connections. The more people who join, the more valuable the network becomes for everybody, which then encourages more people to send invites. See the loop? That's not just growth, that's a competitive moat. A new startup can't just come along and replicate that massive network overnight. It's basically impossible. Or look at what Facebook did with Facebook Connect. Remember logging into other websites with your Facebook account? Every time you did that, you were feeding data back to Facebook about your interests all over the web. That data then allowed them to create incredibly targeted ads, which of course drove huge revenue. So more usage didn't just mean more users on Facebook, it actually made their core business model stronger and stronger. And maybe the best example is Google Maps. It's just perfect. Every single person driving around with that app open is like a tiny little sensor, anonymously feeding real-time traffic data back to the system. So the more drivers on the road using Maps, the more data Google gets. The more data they have, the better their routes and traffic predictions become. And the better the routes, the more people want to use the app. The product is literally getting smarter with every car on the road. It's genius. It really all boils down to this. Whoever collects that data is going to make a lot of money. In the world we live in now, building these kinds of data flywheels isn't just a cool feature. It's the absolute foundation for creating massive, long-term, defensible value. Okay, so let's pull all of this together. We started with the foundation of structured thinking. Then we built a feedback engine on top of that. And finally, we saw how to turn that into these powerful compounding moats. This is it, your complete, actionable toolkit for really building products like a top-tier PM. So when you boil it all down, it comes down to 3 key things. Number 1, think in frameworks. Don't just brainstorm. Start with a hypothesis and break the problem down logically. Number 2, build that feedback engine. You have to systematically combine the what from your quantitative data with the why from your qualitative insights. And number 3, design value loops. Actively create systems where the more people use your product, the better it gets for everyone. And that brings us to the final, maybe most important question. I want you to think about the product you're working on right now. Seriously, is there a value loop running in it? Does it actually get better with more users? And if the answer is no, the next question is, how could you build one? That's the real challenge, but it's also where the biggest opportunity lies.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe and like.